I would say that, from our standpoint, we're seeing a big uplift in the B2B appointment setting. So many situations where, an internal staff just do not have the resources to reach out to the, potential customers. And so where a call center can assist in that regard is we can do the cold calling, we can do the outreach, and we can scrub through the people who are never going to answer the phones. And hopefully the goal of a call center and B2B appointment setting is just to get you somebody to speak with. And so I think from our standpoint, that is what we are seeing, a big sort of different approach from an outsourcing standpoint. We're seeing a big lift there. And so I would definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think as the market shifts, I think you got to stay nimble and kind of shift with the times. So, of course, in the COVID era in 2020 and 2021, it was so refinance focused. I think consumers are reaching a point in the mortgage side where they just were trying to get a hold of somebody to get in line for a product that everybody wanted. So, you kind of had some of those carryover hours. I think now there's probably, from a sales perspective, more time available than there is consumers. So we've kind of had to branch out a little bit and realize the expectation is to be available for those in the purchase market, on the weekends, after hours. It's really a mental shift, which, a lot of your experienced agents that have been through the industry over the course of the last couple of decades realize that's kind of the case. What Rob alluded to is turnover. So some of those younger agents that maybe all they knew from the mortgage industry was that refinance boom.
Yeah.
So it's really a shift in focus and expectations that's difficult. But as long as the buy-in is there and you realize that transaction is going to take not just a quick 30 days to wrap up a refinance, but it could be several months, could be a year. Where do you layer in those helpful points, not just with the upfront salesperson, but with maybe a call center, a contact team that's just staying in touch with those people. So we've definitely had to have a lot of buy-in on that over the course of the last year, and that's probably the name of the game for the next year plus.
Yeah.
I think it's fairly open-ended at this point in time. It's more of a research phase to figure out, I think, the points on where that can be plugged in. We take a look at it specifically on the mortgage side. A lot of what we've focused in on, I think, so far in this conversation has been that front end sales cycle. What can you do from an automations piece on the back end when you do have a loan in process, when you're sending out updates, when maybe it's not something that needs to be a long drawn out explanation? Can you automate that from an AI perspective? We're always biased, I think, because we do operate with actual human beings on location. So we kind of want to drive those and utilize, those talents as much as we can. But we're definitely taking a look at pieces, I think, that maybe just systematic updates or informational updates that can be delivered a little bit more instantaneously than having to log into a portal or, waiting for an email to drop at some point in time when something happens in the process. So that's kind of the approach we're at right now.
It's such a great question. So it's, again, there is a willingness to, it's a bit of a mixed bag. So I'll, say that first, but, I think that there are some generational differences, comfort levels with, people's adoption of self-help tools and those kind of, and bots, whatever that happens to be. But we also have, I think, just overall, overwhelmingly as a society, have gotten a lot more comfortable, with some of these either self-help or automated responses. And if we can solve our problems and it's a good customer experience, I think people are more, from a customer standpoint, from a client or a consumer standpoint, more willing to adapt to those other options, So we can look at staffing in our branches, for instance, and maybe it's after 5 and that staff has gone home. Can we provide you a really great experience still, looking into the face of a banker across the country who can still have that conversation with you, problem solve, I think customers are really open to that kind of an interaction. Or do we know that we can provide quick and easy answers for, 15 or 20% of the inquiries that we have, that we're handling through the call center through a chat bot? Customers are really open to that interaction. So I think that there's just an increasing level of comfort, as time goes on, as they see it happening. But, Rob mentioned this earlier, and there are complex tasks and complex questions that you just can't answer, through a bot, through AI. And so having ways for your clients to be able to interact with you and and not making AI the barrier to getting your answers, making sure that, you're setting it up in a way that really speaks to how can we better serve our customers, not, how can we reduce costs simply. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, but I think that there's overwhelmingly more adoption and acceptance.
Rob, I think,
okay. Yeah, absolutely. And that goes back to what I was mentioning at the very start. Having an omni-channel solution is important. You've got to be able to communicate in multiple ways. Jessica mentioned generational differences. I mean, there are so many different factors that determine the best way to communicate with somebody. And so, yes, what we're finding is we are challenged as a call center now to ensure that we are not just a call center, that we are giving those options of text, of chat, of email to continue to make sure that customer experience stays top of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really just keep coming back to the combination of bots and humans, bringing that together to, just in an empathetic way for our customers. So that blended approach, I do think, is so critically important. So if it is something that is a by rote routine inquiry, whether that is what's my balance, or when will I get my 1098, or how do I find my 1098, or those kind of routine questions that are easily answered because it's the same process for everybody, right? Like, absolutely put that forward with some kind of automation to help those customers so that they're not waiting in queue to speak to a human, while the human may give them, a human connection. The frustration that they feel first by having to sit in queue for a long time to get to somebody who can help them is not worth, the human connection, if you will. But if it is a complex question, why did my monthly mortgage increase? Can I don't know, access X amount through a HELOC, whatever those happen to be, those more complex questions where you need a person to help talk through because there is specificity and it's not routine. I think that that's where you really want to make sure you're getting them to a human as quickly as possible who can help them, through that situation. So I love that.